Good morning, everybody. It's Michael with the Haunted Library. I know we've all had a long, hot summer, especially if you're from the South. I just kind of wanted to cool things off a little bit tonight and fast forward into winter, if just for 10 minutes. The story's called Keep Walking. It's written by me and it's voiced by me. I hope you enjoy it. A few hours into our hike was when the strange noises started. It was to be an overnight hike, about 5 miles in total. I was 12 at the time. My father and his friend Krishna, who is full-blown Navajo Indian, decided to take me along on their way to Krishna's tribe to spend the weekend. My father and Krishna were good friends and had made this trek before a few times. But this time, Krishna had altered our course because of an unexpected snowstorm that had come on quick within the first hour of the trip. The winds and snow had dramatically lowered the temperature even within the last hour, and Krishna had rerouted our course in hopes of reaching his tribe faster. But we still had to make camp because of the worsening snowstorm. And being so young, I didn't quite understand who could be making these noises out here in these conditions. They sounded like cries, somebody in pain, somebody in desperation, and they were coming from all over, in every direction in the blizzard. I had on about 3 layers of clothes and I wore a ski mask, and I was still cold. The screams weren't helping me any either. Krishna led the way, and my father and I were close behind. It was 12 a.m., and we finally reached a clearing. "Dad?" I said, curious, but not necessarily scared. "Who is screaming in the woods?" My father stopped and looked at Krishna, who didn't speak. "I don't know, son. I've never heard such a noise. Come on, let's keep moving." And I could see the concern on Krishna's face as we carried on. The wind was strong and it was becoming more difficult to walk and keep up. Finally, we came to a thick patch of trees that would somewhat shield us from the strong winds. We decided to stop and pitch the tent. Though I didn't know what the word hypothermia meant, I can recall my father and Krishna talking about it as they worked to get the tent up. They had the tent up fast, and we were out of the elements within a few minutes. Unable to make a fire because of the heavy snowfall, we stayed bundled up and went to sleep, and I soon forgot about the scary noises outside. But that didn't seem to last too long because I was woke out of sleep sometime in the later part of the night. The cries had become louder now. Krishna had woke up my father, and both of them were standing outside, braving the wind and snow. And I could hear them talk. Their voices were mumbles in the storm. As if knowing I was awake, my father ducked his head in the tent and told me to get dressed. It was obvious we were leaving, and now I was afraid. I quickly dressed, and we were soon again braving the storm. I was half asleep and a bit confused as the screams drew closer. The snow was shin deep, and it was still coming down thick. We entered an area of thick, dense trees. Krishna seemed to stay closer to my father and I now, almost sheltering us. There was a sense of urgency to make it to his tribe regardless of this storm. A piercing scream sounded off, and I almost peed myself. It was the loudest one yet, and it seemed so close now, but it was still drowned out by most of the wind. I just know that it wasn't human. Even as a young boy, I knew that nobody had the vocals to scream like that. And that's when I saw her. It was a young girl who appeared to be in her teens. She was kind of tall and had long, stringy black hair, and she appeared pale. To a 12-year-old boy, she just looked cold. She appeared at the tree line to our right. It was dense and dark behind her, and I had not seen her come out of the woods. "Dad?" I said, tugging on his arm, pointing. "There's a girl over there. She's cold." My father only glanced at her and said, "Come on, Nick. Keep moving." "But Dad, she's going to freeze to death." He grabbed my wrist, gripping it tight, leading me forward. Krishna kept a close eye on the girl as we passed. I did not understand why we were not helping her. We passed her. I looked back as large snowflakes pelted my face. She was gone. Nobody spoke for the next 20 minutes as I was forced to try and keep up with their rushed pace. Then the girl appeared again, just in front of us. I didn't understand how she had moved so fast. She had somehow made it past us without me having seen her, through the woods while wearing only a weathered black dress. She didn't have on shoes. By all accounts, at least to me, she should have been freezing. I know I was. "Help me," she called out as we drew even closer. I wanted to talk to her, to tell her my name and help her, but I know my dad wouldn't let me. I stayed quiet and I kept going, my dad pulling me closer to him. I glanced back and was horrified to see her face change from a desperate, friendly expression to an evil, hateful snarl. Her mouth was full of teeth that were long and jagged now, and her eyes had turned red. Her body began to change shapes. I cried out and hugged my dad. Krishna looked back and grabbed me, pulling me close to him. "Have your gun ready, Charles," he said to my dad. My dad pulled out his rifle and we pushed on. Then the girl appeared again, this time looking half rotted, half monster-like. When she spoke, her mouth opened far wider than it should have. I closed my eyes and held my breath, tears streaming down my cold face. My father shot his gun in the direction of the girl, but she had vanished. At this point, we were only an hour away from our destination, and from there out, we only heard screams in the woods, but we never saw the girl again. The rifle had deterred her, or had deterred it. It wasn't until I was 16 years old did my father tell me that the girl I had seen was a demon, one thought to be that of a Wendigo. This particular demon would trick people into believing it needed help, only to lure them into the woods, their bodies never to be seen again. Krishna had told my father that 14 people had disappeared in that stretch of vast woods in the last 15 years. I still have nightmares over the Wendigo's scream and her horrific, scary face.